There's a new champion in college football, however, a very familiar face to a lot of people. 5 national championships in 9 years for Alabama, the Crimson Tide. We'll get to that with Dave Seaman, Standard Speaker sports editor. But let's start locally, Dave, with a team you covered on Sunday night, Hazleton area boys basketball. They beat rival Crestwood. And Dave, it seems like the formula. They get out to these big leads. Their starters get some rest. They show some of their depth and just repeat. So the Cougars once again successful in the Wyoming Valley Conference. They're rolling.
Yeah, they're definitely rolling. It's a winning formula for them so far this season. They're going to be tested later this week against Dallas, but right now the Cougars are hitting on all cylinders, so to speak, and it's what they envisioned when the season started, that they're going to gain the upper hand and let their depth take over, and so far it's worked.
Dave, I read in your article, Joey Gruel, I think, saying it's different from last year because we are able to come out, get these leads, not too many close games. What do you notice maybe in some of the differences between last year and this year's team?
I just think it's a whole another level of experience too. I mean, you're talking 3 players, 4 players now that have played multiple years in a program. Not to mention that they have some talent too, talent and some size, and that makes a big difference when you're playing teams like Crestwood for outstanding program. A lot of those guys never played in a varsity game before in front of a big crowd, and it makes a big difference. And these guys have a chip on their shoulder. They're playing last year. They got denied a chance to play in the state tournament, and they've been on a mission. But they realize, like Coach Joseph says, and he's following James Franklin's mantra that you got to take one game at a time, 1-0 after every game, and it's cliche, but that's what they're following right now, and they're adhering to it.
And Dave, in the Schuylkill League girls basketball, we talked before the season how entertaining it should be. North Schuylkill girls, they get a big win over the weekend, taking over first place in Division I by beating Lehigh. And I talk a lot about Avery Jordan, and rightfully so, Dave. She could score a lot of points, but some depth there as well over the weekend. Maya Wetzel steps up, scores 20 points as they get that big victory. Big news also out of North Schuylkill. Reggie Crawford, the swimmer there, Dave, putting up another record at the Schuylkill Sprint Meet, and he's shaping up to have a very big season this year. Dave, now the college football national championship. Alabama wins again. A lot of freshmen in this game, and they kept saying that, Kirk Herbstreit and the announcing crew there. But the freshman quarterback for Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa, comes in. He gets sacked in overtime, Dave. I mean, he leads a comeback, gets them to overtime pretty much, but gets sacked there, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe the moment's a little bit too big. And then he throws that game-winning pass, that touchdown, Dave. My mouth just dropped in bed. I jumped out of bed. My eyes got wide. Was that pass that good? And how good was he in leading Alabama to their 5th national title in 9 years?
Well, put it this way, they're down 13-0 against a team the caliber of Georgia, basically a home game for Georgia, with the championship online, and he came into the game and led a comeback, and just the way how calm he was, and to be put in a situation like that and rally the team and just show the poise. The tying touchdown pass that he threw late in regulation was on 4th down, 4th and 3. You looked at that play and bouncing back after getting sacked, like you said, and you go to that last pass, and it was a super pass because he looked off the receiver, and I think he knew where he wanted to go the whole time, and it just opened wide, and he hit the guy in stride. The other freshman, the receiver for Alabama, hit him in stride, and touchdown, and another national championship for the Tide.
Dave, a lot of college football fans I know were rooting for Georgia, sick of the Alabama success. I don't say mad at Alabama, just didn't want to see them win. I have a lot of respect for Alabama to be able to do this, and Nick Saban. And what they did last night, Dave, we were talking about the coaching staff at halftime to do what they did, change quarterbacks, and they had to make some other great changes too to get back into that game. Some people would have just said, hey, this is what got us here, let's stick to it and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have the guts. You got to have the guts to make a call, and that's what makes Nick Saban who he is. I mean, he's not afraid to put his players in a position to win the game. He knew he needed to make a change, and hats off to Jalen Hurts too. I mean, maybe we'll talk about that. Here's a kid who was benched essentially. A kid that led him to back-to-back national championship games. He was struggling a little bit. He struggled against Clemson last week. He was struggling in the first half against Georgia. He went to the sidelines, but when they threw their first touchdown pass and got back into the game in the third quarter last night, who's the first person on the field for Alabama was Jalen Hurts too. And all his post-game comments too. It shows class, embodies class. It's why we watch sports, and you're happy for kids like that. You're not happy that he got benched, and I'm sure it's a little bittersweet for him, deep down. But he said all the right things. He had all the right body language too, and he's a national champion today.
Dave, I did want to bring that up because I forget who interviewed him for ESPN afterwards, and I believe it was him who tweeted out, hey, show this to young athletes, and it was the interview with Jalen Hurts, where he kind of said, we have a lot of guys in the quarterback room to play, and they play well. He stepped in and did his thing for the team. He's built for stuff like this. I'm happy for him and the team. That's what Jalen Hurts had to say about Tua Tagovailoa after the game. And Dave, Nick Saban, we talk about being brave making that decision. It's also nice when you have that much talent that you can make that decision. Well, Dave, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we'll enjoy more sports commentary from Dave next week. Read all of his work in the Standard Speaker.